And welcome back, everyone, to the FX Open Invitational Series. I am Unstable, joined here by Relkin. We're going to go into set number 2 here for Group I. It is going to be SlayerSArthur. No, we did not have an actual photo for him. Up against NSHSeal. Cloud Kingdom will be game number 1 here for this one. Let's jump straight into it. Got another PvZ coming up. Of course, down here at the bottom left, we have SlayerSArthur as our yellow Protoss, opting for a Forge expand. And of course, up here at the top right, we have NSHSeal as our blue Zerg. He's going to be pylon blocked here, of course, but he's most likely going to go and take a third base, as we have so often seen be the trend these days. But what do you think is going to happen in this set, Relkin? Actually, no, sorry, he went pool first, so he's not going to have to worry about that.
I'm not familiar with Arthur really at all. He's another one of those unknown quantities, because you're never quite sure what you're going to get. And again, either he was placed in by Slayers when we asked them who to invite, because we generally ask teams, like, you got so many players, tell us to invite, yeah. Or he qualified. So either way, he's going to be somebody to be, there's going to be a force to be reckoned with, because he either qualified or Slayers thinks he's good enough to make it. So I'm curious to see what he's going to go for. He is walling this off the pretty standard way. Looking at his gas timings, he did just drop 1 gas. No second gas just yet, so not really doing anything crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Arthur did actually qualify through the qualifier full career that we ran, so he definitely does have some potential here. Of course, he is a very new player in Slayers. He doesn't live in the house, if I recall correctly. So that's going to be very interesting. We do see double gas going down in his main for Seal here at the moment. He's trying to get his expansion up and running. And no third base anywhere on the way just yet. He's got enough minerals for it, but it looks like he's gonna just going to sit on this 2 bases for a little bit. We have seen some Zergs just prefer this kind of play. And it works out quite nicely sometimes for them, but yeah.
He's sending some Zerglings over here to check it, so he might be dropping the third base here in a second, because he's just making sure there aren't any probes here. And I was going to say, it would be very interesting if he does stay on 2 base, because recently we've been seeing that more often when Protoss players forcing it.
Yeah.
Especially on a map like Cloud Kingdom, where the third base isn't that hard to take. The 4th base can be pretty tricky, but the 3rd base, generally rather easy for a Zerg player to take, but he's still not going for it. So might see some 2 base play, and this could just be a random mix-up, just because every Zerg and their mother is going for 3 base play right now. So if he can deny some scouting by holding these watchtowers is what he's doing, have some Zerglings running around, which is what he's doing, I assume he's just going to try and stop all scouting altogether by intercepting any units, and then make him think he has a 3rd base, and then hit with 2 base timing.
Yeah, that's very true. We do see the Leer and Link Speed on the way now for Seal. And let's see if Arthur plays a little bit like the style of Puzzle. Like, we see Puzzle Lags taking a 3rd base, Lags going out, playing very safe, long macro games. And it's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, Zealot's going to go down, so that's really the only unit that's out in the center of the map besides this probe, which is hanging out in a position like it wants to drop a pylon, because it's not an uncommon place to drop proxy pylon for warp-ins. And now there's a Stalker that's come out into the center of the map. Are there any more Zerglings? No, so Stalker will be able to come up and check the 3rd base if he wants. But we'll see if he actually goes that far. It looks like he's just hanging out on the watchtower. So right now, I mean, based on the number of units he's seen, I would assume that Arthur thinks this is a 3rd base right now. But he is actually switching into 5 more gateways, 6 gateway timing attack coming in. But Seal's Layer's about to finish. He doesn't have a 3rd base. If he starts cranking out units, he might be okay, but actually he doesn't have a Roach Warren, so check that. This actually will be rather difficult for Seal if he doesn't start throwing down some Spine Crawlers. Yeah,
well, he's going for the Spire. It would appear to be that some Spine Crawlers are on the way in a second. 2 base Spire is something you don't see all that often. And depending on the...
He's about to see that there's no 3rd base. Unstable. Yep, there we go.
He might actually kill this Overlord too.
Yeah, he's got to reconsider his options at this point, because, I mean, this attack, I assume, was designed to punish the quick 3rd base that everybody's doing right now. Stalker's going to die by Stalker. Didn't get that Overlord. 3rd base is now going down with the Spire halfway done. Still hasn't thrown down any Spine Crawlers. Like you said, it's common to throw those down. But he's choosing not to. So how is he going to hold this, Unstable?
Honestly, I'm not really that sure. He's got 800 gas banked up. He's going to get a few mutas out, but every time I've seen this situation happen, it does not end well for the Zerg. He just can't deal with this pure Stalker numbers. We do see he's got Zerglings running out here at the natural for Arthur. Not going to be... Oh, he is actually going to be able to get in there. There we go.
He's going to scout the 8 gateways. and realize what's going on. But I mean, it's gonna be a little bit too late because the gateways are knocking at his front door. What can he do?
Well, he's got 9 mutas on the way, but other than that, I don't think there's anything he really can do. Like, he's gonna have a lot of these drones coming out now. We do see us
giving up the natural. So he's not going to be able to make any more mutas. There's going to be 9 mutas, and that's going to be about it. All these overlords are going to go down too, which is going to supply block him pretty heavily. And several of these mutas are going to take damage. There goes 1 muta, second one going to go down right as they finish. Now it's 7 mutas. This is actually really difficult for Seal right now. He's being put into a really difficult situation, but Seal is deciding to marshal his forces to his main base, and Arthur's not challenging it. So we'll see if he can get enough units out for this, because Arthur's not actually reinforcing this at the moment.
No, he's not. I think he's just worried about the micro of his units too much. He's starting to take down more overlords. Has supply capped him, and here we go. Are we going to see him finally engage with the amount of zerglings and drones that have come out? We do see mutas from behind, actually. Actually, oh my god, the zealots are down at the natural here for Arthur. His stalkers are now completely surrounded. He will actually lose the majority of his forces here, if not all of them.
Yeah, those are all going to die. There's still some mutas left, about 5 of them, but the army got split there a little bit ineffectively. The hatchery will barely die, but he still has that 3rd base up. If you look at the worker count, it is 41 to 38, so it's still fine for Seal. He's going to be able to rebuild that spire because the lair never went down. Now this pylon's going to go down because there's not actually enough cast room to warp in anti-air units. It's just zealots. So he's going to try and go after the drone line, but that's not going to happen. And at that point, committing the units like that was a pretty poor decision. Warping those zealots just to die is actually going to put Seal in somewhat of a favorable position. If you check the unit count, you can see that, well, Arthur has no army.
Yeah.
So that was a very crucial decision there to warp in those zealots in a really bad situation that could wind up biting him.
Yeah, it's very interesting. He did get that natural down at least, so he should be okay. I really think Arthur misplayed his hand there. He could have either gone straight away into the main, taken out all the tech and the drones as they retreated up there, but he just waited a little bit too long, or he could have stayed down and just focused down that natural, then gone and focused down the 3rd and just sat at the bottom of the ramp with his sentries and just keep him in there all day, because he knew he killed the Spire. But now this is going to allow Seal to come back and be quite frustrating. He's still got those 5 mutas on the field. He can come in and out and do some harassment. His Spire is going to finish up again. He's going to have 10 more mutas actually after this as well. And Arthur's going to be in a very tough spot. He can't take a 3rd base. There's zerglings out on the map. There's going to be quite a few more mutas. And here come the mutas again into the natural.
Yeah, I like the fact that he took down the Spire like that, but afterwards he kind of misplayed his hand. And if he hadn't misplayed his hand and he still had a large number of units on the field, Seal wouldn't be able to make this many mutas right now. So that's really important, because he'd be a lot worried about that follow-up attack. But now that he's certain that's not coming, he was able to save up a ton of resources just for the mutas, instead of having to throw a lot of those into zerglings. So now the muta count's going to be quite high, and these stalkers are not upgraded at all. +1 is close to finishing, but he probably wants more upgrades to be able to deal with this really high muta count. But some of the mutas are going to fly directly across the stalkers. Okay, he does redirect them at the last second. Arthur is coming in for another attack, but this army is significantly smaller than the last one. They're a large number of mutas. There's zerglings on the way. I don't like this follow-up attack as much.
Well, he does have blink this time, so it should help out, but he is on even supply. Here he comes in yet again, and Seal's muta count, and zerglings from behind as well is going to help out quite nicely as well. He's going to actually blink underneath the mutas to try and fix that up, and the muta count's still too high. The zerglings on the ground really just add to the efficiency of the mutas, and now he's going to be completely forced back. Oh, surrounded as well. Nice.
I like what he did there. He actually dropped some force fields. The sentries died, and then he blinked onto the other side of the force fields just to mess with the zerglings around a little bit more. But you see that Arthur actually is going to lose some more units in the center of the map here just because they're off by themselves. Not really something he can afford to be losing at the moment. And now, once again, Seal has complete map control with his mutas. The natural hatchery didn't even die. So now he's going to be able to just completely contain Arthur drone up really hard. Arthur is trying to go for a last-ditch Dark Shrine, but I think it's about to be scouted by these Beetalisks.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to try. Oh, he can actually fight straight up here against these Stalkers since they did blink into him. And Seal is now in a really great spot, looking at 25 supply up. He's got 46 drones. Hasn't actually re-droned just yet, though.
He did not actually see that Dark Shrine. I thought he was going to go deeper in and catch that. So this could be an opportunity for Arthur, because there's not really any detection on the field for Seal. And this is pretty delayed. It's not an expected response. It's kind of that I'm in a really bad decision, a really bad spot, so I'm going to try and make Dark Templars work that Protoss players do sometimes. But unless you're really familiar with your player and you can predict that, it can be hard to catch. But mutas are flying in at a different angle. They might scout it this time unstable. Will he see the Dark Shrine?
I don't think he's going to get that far across, to be honest, because he's going to try and get out as well. And he's going to fight straight up here against these Stalkers. More muta reinforcements coming in. And now Arthur in a really bad spot.
Yeah, but he still has not seen that Dark Shrine. Arthur is being forced to warp in more units, so it's cutting into that resource reserve he has for the Dark Templars, so he won't be able to make a lot. But as long as he can stay alive, the Dark Shrine's done now. Warp in some Dark Templars somewhere, split them up into the drone lines. This could actually do enough to bring him back into the game, but he's only warping in one. Second one is on the way now. He needs to make sure he times this perfectly and doesn't give it away too soon.
Yeah, that's very true. We do see more mutas coming in yet again, but he's going to be forced back. Nice blink by Arthur, picks off one of those mutalisks. And here we go, as you were saying, the DTs are moving across the map right now. There's only 2 of them at the moment. And look at this, Seal hasn't actually resaturated his natural with drones. He's just trying to finish off Arthur as soon as he can. He's 30 supply up.
I don't like that. He gave away the first DT before the second one was anywhere near the natural. So he actually responds immediately, starts making some overseers. Neither of the DTs are really doing that much because he didn't wait for the 2 to hit the bases at the same time, which I think is a really small thing, but it's really important. And now there's a lot of mutas on the other side of the map who are going to realize, hey, DTs, you don't have much army. Let's go hit your bases. So this is actually really, really bad for Arthur right now.
Yeah, well, he's going to lose a lot more probes. He's actually going to fight against these mutas straight up here, losing on quite a number of Stalkers, actually, because they do one-shot those at the moment. But as you were saying, it's 42 drones to 34 probes. I'm really surprised that we haven't seen Seal drone back up after all of this. We see now the 3rd base coming down here for Arthur. Like, he could have just gotten... Like, if he just takes the next 20 seconds just to get his drone count back up to proper, he'll just absolutely steamroll Arthur, but he just doesn't want to do it.
He's making a few drones now that you started really complaining about it. But I think it's because of the fact he knew that Arthur didn't have a 3rd base for a long time. And he had his 3rd larva there at least, so at the very least he had unit production. He's going to deny the 3rd base. And as long as he's got that extra base over Arthur, he's fine with having this smaller drone advantage. 54 to 34 is now the advantage. So that's going to be really good. He's going to deny the Nexus again, actually force a cancel. Mutalisks are in the main doing a ton of damage, actually trying to go after the Nexus. Stalkers are coming in, but the mutas are split up, so they can't quite fight. And Arthur is trying really, really hard to get this Nexus down, but he had to warp in a bunch more units, so he can't make a Nexus. He is in a really, really difficult position right now, unstable.
Well, well, he's got 23 probes. He did lose so many probes in that last one, so he is in a hard spot. Looks like he's actually just going to go straight across the map. And this is the dangerous part about having this many mutas. If your opponent just walks across the map, especially with that Archon in the mix, from the DTs that have been morphed, it actually will do quite a bit of damage to him because he is clustering them up to try and take on the Stalkers.
He's got a good number of Zerglings, so if he can get a good surround with the Zerglings and kind of zone that Archon out for a little bit, then he should be fine. It's really just going to come down to the control from Seal. He can deal with this army, but positioning is going to be really important. It's why Arthur's hanging out at this choke point. It's a really good place for the Protoss army to fight. He's getting into another choke point, trying to minimize the surface area that Seal can get on his army. I don't like him moving further into the choke point like this. This will allow Zerglings to do much better this time. But Seal is actually going around and trying to cut off the proxy pylon before he fights. It looks like he might even be going for a base trade.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to go for a base trade here at the moment. That's a very interesting choice here by Seal. I think he could have been able to take on this army, especially now that it's like split up and the Zealots are out of position. So we are going to have a base race scenario here between these two guys. And I don't know who will actually come out on top. We do have Seal with a little bit more supply, but most of that is actually in drones. 78 supply to 122.
This is going to come down to Seal, because we've seen such similar situations like this. He cannot afford to lose Mutalisks at all. He needs to preserve their numbers, because they're so mobile and they're so powerful in these situations that it'll give him a complete map control if he has that big ball of mutas flying around. But trading Mutalisks will allow Arthur to split up his army, which is really, really bad for the Zerg player in this situation. But you see that Seal has a hatchery on the way in the top left. Arthur's making a Nexus at the 3 o'clock. They're both going to lose their main bases, going to have to relocate to other places. Both of them lost a large number of their workers, but Seal has 22 drones still alive. He actually got a lot of workers out and is taking Arthur's natural. Oh my god. There is a few minerals over there, so he's going to be able to mine there with his drones until the top left comes up. This is really good for Seal as long as he doesn't lose mutas.
Well, there is a DT actually hitting the top left base, so that's actually going to go down regardless. I'm surprised he hasn't cancelled it just yet. But the muta's almost engaged here in the middle. Needs to be careful. It's really just those Archons that are going to cause him
He
a
might
lot of
save
pain.
it. Unstable. There's an Overseer almost there. Zergling's coming up to deal with this. I don't think the hatch is going to die.
Oh, it's going to be very close. Very close. Oh, yeah, he should just barely save it.
Yeah, so there it goes. He does keep it alive. Good job there by Seal. That's going to help him out, having this 2 separate bases. And Arthur doesn't have a forge. He has no cannons up, wasn't able to get those up in time. So his army has to stick here by his only nexus. Those are his only 2 buildings. There aren't any assimilators. Oh, there's a 3rd pylon up here in the center, but they're all concentrated around the same area. He doesn't have the worker count. So this is really, really bad for Arthur because Seal can start rebuilding really quickly because he's got 22 drones mining in the top left. That's a lot of income for him. And I mean, just look at the income tab. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's very, very true. However, this army is still okay, but he can't leave this nexus because the mutas are going to come down. Oh, there's a blink. Does take out 2 mutas there. But Seal still ahead in supply. He just needs to be careful. He needs to try and pick off these Archons in a big ball like he is right now. And if he can kill the Archons, he'll win the day. But it's just going to come down to those. We got a spawning pool on the way. We've got another
There's
hatchery.
another hatchery. I think as long as he doesn't lose any mutas, he's fine. Because as long as there's a big group of mutas flying around, Arthur is too scared to leave his base. He's too scared to split up his army. If he starts trading mutas to harass, then Arthur might be able to start splitting up the army. You see, there are some zealots venturing out now, and because they're not any use against the mutalisks anyway. But we'll see. Like Seal, I really think shouldn't give away any of these mutalisks. He's kind of dancing around being a threat, just keeping Arthur in his base, because the longer this goes, the better it is for him. So I really like this from Seal. Staying a threat, being in the area so he can't leave, but just like taking this later and later and later.
Well, he's not actually supply capped because most of his overlords were saved throughout the course of the base trade, so it doesn't actually matter. He's already got an income. He's making spine crawlers now, and he can remake any of his Zerglings if he wants, because he's still like 91 supply over 142. So Arthur's pretty much playing a dead game, unless Seal walks over the top of his army and sits there and doesn't fight. I don't see Arthur winning this game.
Yeah, and he did lose his only probe over there at that base, so there's not even a chance for Arthur to maybe even try to recover here. There's a bunch of Zerglings coming over that are just going to hit this Nexus while he knows that that army is out of position. He's like, sup, those are Zerglings. There's the pylon on the high ground is going to go down. I think he might be able to save the Nexus, but that's a large number of mutalisks.
Oh, it's going to be very close. But see, the thing is, we've just had... Whoa, here come the mutas, actually. Oh, this might be a mistake by Seal. You're going to get it, but wow, he lost a lot of those mutas. And now it's only one pylon.
Because top left base is becoming really difficult to break.
Yeah.
Lair is on the way. It's going to get a little bit extra health. He can drop some extra tech down in the bottom right if he wants to as well. I'm surprised
here he comes to the pylon. No, that's it. Game over. The pylon actually went down by those mutas as everything went away. There was just a bunch of unit count. Congratulations to Seal. He will go 1-up in this game. That was a very bizarre game. But we'll be right back with game number 2. Just stay with us.